the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for February 15th, 2011. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time I'd like to introduce the board members, starting to my right.
Todd Chernick.
Gary Willis.
John McCrae.
Scott Kilgore.
Nancy Plesnarski.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-legal board composed of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determinations. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these four considerations. A, relief, if granted, would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. At this time has everybody had a chance to look at the December meeting minutes? At this time we need a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the December meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Or raise your right hand.
I don't think I was there at the meeting.
Okay.
No, you were not.
Yeah.
Passed 4-0. I'm going to abstain as Nancy wasn't here. At this time, we present V10-013, 13610 Hopewell Road, to allow encroachment into the 50-foot stream buffer. Angela, will you please present?
Mr. Chair, we will be presenting the case. The applicant is here. I believe he's going to ask for the case to be withdrawn.
At this time, we'd like the applicant to please come forward. If you'll state your name and address, please.
My name is Steve Laboda, 13825 Briggle Road, Milton. Appreciate the panel's indulgence that this has been on the docket for quite a few months. We've been in the process of working with Mr. Jimmy Saunders on what's needed. We do have a state variance, but understand we need the city of Milton variance to do what was initially thought to increase the size of some existing ponds at that said address. However, we have just submitted plans for Mr. Saunders' request in order to facilitate to take care of issues via maintenance. This does not require a variance, and we're not going to do anything by changing the contours of the ponds on the properties. So thus, I don't believe that there's any need to ask you guys for a variance on that.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant from the board?
So just so we're clear, you're requesting to have this withdrawn.
Any other questions? Any questions for staff? Do we have a motion? You can have a seat, sir. Thank you very much.
You're going right there.
Council, do we need to move to withdraw this formally, or can we just take no action?
I guess it would, depend on whether it would be with or without prejudice. It's with, and I don't have it in front of me, but if the council or the board is willing to consider it without prejudice, I would do it by motion in the sense of whether it would be subject to being resubmitted within a certain time frame. May I ask whether the applicant wishes it to be without prejudice?
Can you explain that?
The question is whether there would be a hold on how much time he would have before he could resubmit the variance. That would be with prejudice. And I don't know, I don't recall if it's 6 months or 6 months. If it's done without prejudice, he wouldn't be subject to that delay.
Okay, so I would make a motion that we allow the applicant to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Let it be known that it passed 6-0. Thank you very much. Angela, do you need anything else from them?
You see for something else.
Okay. Okay. Our next case is V11-001, 735 Brickwood Lane, to allow an attached garage to encroach into the minimum side yard. Angela, will you please present?
Petition number B11-001, 735 Brickwood Lane. Background: the site is a single-family home on 1.03 acres in the Redstone subdivision. It is zoned AG1 and is in the northwest overlay. The subject house sits approximately 90 feet from the right-of-way of Brickwood Lane. There are single-family houses on either side of the subject property. The applicant, Mark Cubitt, proposes to build a 1,152 square foot, 3-car garage addition to his home. The addition will be 2 stories and will attach to the existing garage on the left side of the house. The garage addition will extend into the 20-foot side yard setback for 20 feet. The edge of the addition will end approximately 136 feet from the nearest house. Section 64416C1 states that the side yard setback for AG1 properties is 25 feet. No structures are allowed in this setback. Therefore, a variance is required. Design Review Board courtesy review, performed on February 1st, 2011. The board offered the following comments. All homes seem to have side-loaded garages. The applicant will have to prove hardship to the BZA. If the HOA has no objection, the board has no objections. Additional department comments, focus meeting held on February 3rd. Building plan review, site plan review, arborist, and DOT all had no issues. The approval of the variance is based on the following considerations. Relief, if granted, would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. The spirit and intent of the ordinance is to keep neighboring houses from encroaching upon one another. The nearest point of this garage to the neighboring house will still be over 100 feet, which is twice what the setback is still trying to remain. The portion of my neighbor's property I'm approaching is woods and is not buildable in the future. There are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. The applicant responds, given the topography of my lot where the original house was built, there is not another location on the lot that would allow expansion to the garage without extreme changes to the topography or building in a less architecturally appealing area that would also be nearer my neighbor. The only other location would be to push the garage back on the lot, but would require the same variance restriction. Coming out front would start to encroach on the 60-foot setback and would not be in alignment with the neighborhood setting. Relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. The applicant states, this relief would not cause detriment to the public good or surrounding properties. The lot nearest the garage is totally wooded and will not be built upon. The neighbor will actually see a nice landscape hill and brick wall in the winter and cannot see the structure in the summer as the trees and woods are too thick. The garage addition will include a pedestrian entrance, which will allow the garage door to be kept shut more often. That the public safety, health, and welfare are secured, and that substantial justice is done. The applicant responds, The ordinance imposing this setback is still justly served, as the building is bordering on woods that will most likely never be built on, as the covenants do not allow outbuildings. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Materials for the addition shall match the existing house. This concludes the staff presentation, and I have a PowerPoint handout that the applicant has given me.
Any questions to staff regarding the application from the board? At this time, we would ask the applicant to please come forward and present. And if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Kubik, and I live at 735 Brookwood Lane. And Mr. LeBoyer introduced himself, and he's been employed as an advisor in helping obtain the variance. So, if you look over the PowerPoint, if you go over it, I just kind of went down the points that I thought would help with the variance. One, I believe that the increased home values would benefit Milton by increasing the value of the house by adding a three-car garage. Tearing down the outside of the garage wall is too expensive and invasive if I tried to go the other way of adding where the garage would have went when they originally built the house. She's already stated about the spirit of the setback. You know, I'm over 130 feet away from the next house. There's 10 houses in the neighborhoods that will actually be closer than my garage will be to my neighbor. And the distance that I've gone into the setback, I know I'm going a long distance, but really I think that's inconsequential because it's really not the total distance between the houses, I believe. So whether it's 1 foot or 15 foot, I don't think that really matters. I like Google, so the next page I drew some lines that show I superimposed the garage on my house. Mine's the one with the yellow box attached, and that gives you the distance. And where that arrow goes is a huge swale. The entire upper part of the neighborhood drains through there. So that is a huge drainage area if you look at the topography map. And our covenants do not allow any outbuildings to be built in the front yard of any house. So there'll never be anything built in that area. And I just showed 2 other houses that are in the neighborhood that, with the same length arrows, that are closer than that garage will be to my neighbors. Here's a view I actually took this one. I was going to the variance that shows the heavy woods that it varies, and you can't even see the house. The arrow is where about the corner of the garage would be, and it's in front of the current fence that I have to border the backyard. So it really takes out no landscaping that I already have back there. The next page shows that swale, how it goes down behind that garage and where the corner would be. And I'm really overlapping about 3 feet off of the existing pad that's out there right now. And really doesn't have any obstruction to the sight lines from my neighbor or from me or to the backyard. And just the other points, it has been approved by the Architecture Review Committee in the neighborhood. It will match. We can still get the same brick for the house. Approved by the neighbor. It actually enhances their view. If you think about it, instead of looking into my garage, they can see a nice brick wall, windows, and the landscape back part there. The pedestrian door limits the time the garage doors are up. I think you've all had that problem. So if you want to have a door to get them out. It matches the architecture of the house. There's 3 other houses on the street that do have garage doors that face the street, and it's not against the covenants to have that in our neighborhood. It borders that, covers the trees, and I already talked about the 3 feet. The next one is my low-tech version of what it will look like on the house. So that is what it would look like as it covered the pad. And the last one is just a picture from my front porch of the other garage on the street that on page 8 that borders the street, and that is Brookwood Lane, as you see coming up the street there.
Any questions to the applicant from the board? Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you hit on a lot of things I was going to ask already, so I got to make sure I don't repeat. Have you done any construction on the property to date? Any disruption of the earth or?
The only thing I've done is the pool in the background we did in 2005.
But nothing related to this addition?
No.
Okay, and have you talked to a contractor about it?
I've talked to 3 contractors about it.
Okay, so they said specifically, yes, we can match that brick. We know
Yes.
the lot number, the manufacturer, and all
I
that.
went and found it,
Okay.
yes.
And the architectural review board from the
Yes.
neighborhood has reviewed this?
Yes.
But
I included that in the packet that signed
I
off.
saw that. Is that a subset of the HOA? Does the HOA have purview over that as well, where they would need to approve something like this?
The HOA does not. We are independent there. We use our HOA just for billing and law, budget, electrical bill paying, that type of thing.
Okay.
We are responsible for the administration of the bylaws. They enforce the penalties, but we do the policing.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure, you said the architectural committee was okay with the side loading and?
Yes.
Or with the front loading, since most of the houses are side
Yes.
loading?
Yeah.
And on the lot, it looked in the picture, I think I already know the answer to the question, but I just want to verify, what's the size of the adjoining lot? Is it just the 1 acre?
Yeah, it's
lot?
1.0 acres. The
Okay, so-
house is just set back. I have the plat of the neighborhood if you want to see it.
No, I was just, the reason I was asking is if in the far future that lot could ever be subdivided, then in theory, somebody could be trying to say, after the homeowners association is long gone. and It
has to
doesn't
be
sound
hard,
like
'cause
that's
you're building
possible.
you build it, you're gonna have leaks. You're building in a ditch.
Yeah, right, okay.
My pool's a dam. I got 3 large drains upstream of it, and they get pretty full.
I had one other thing, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to have to demo out any of the existing garage?
No,
It'll be purely addition?
purely addition.
Okay.
That's what, we aren't disrupting the house. We'll add on to the front of it and come out. In the plan, you can kind of see that.
Are you going to lose the basketball goal, or are you just going to move that back around?
Yeah, we're gonna have my kids play baseball and softball.
Okay. I saw that was right in the middle of your new garage.
It's gone.
Okay, that's all I had.
Question? Go ahead.
Do you actually have letters of support from your neighbor?
Yes, it's included in the packet.
I didn't see that.
The email?
Yeah, there's an email. Jamie. And I'm not sure what, I don't think I remember the pages on there.
Oh, yeah, there it is. It's page 8 of your packet.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
At this time, we'd like to open the floor for public comment. As there is none, is there anything that you would like to add?
Oh, no.
Any questions for staff regarding anything?
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
With the encroachment being, leaving a 5-foot sideline, does that pose any concerns for public safety as far as, and especially with them having a pool in the rear, with ability to get into the backyard?
Well, they're still required to have a gate, a fence and a gate. Sure.
Look, there's an existing gate that you can see that's in the back.
We can ask the applicant how they're going to access it. Sure.
Actually, on the opposite side of the house, where it's flatter, there's an 8-foot gate for entry into the back for larger, lawnmowers, machinery, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
you can get in over there.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's a picture of it on page 13.
Any other questions? This time, I'd like to close the public hearing. At this time, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve petition number V11-001, 735 Brookwood Lane, with the following condition. Materials used for the addition to the home shall match the existing home in style and color and shall be built in accordance with the site plan presented as a part of this petition.
Do you have a date on that, sir?
There's not a date on there.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion. The motion on the floor is to approve V11-001 to allow a garage addition to encroach into the 25-foot side yard setback with the following conditions. Number one, the materials for the addition shall match the existing house. And number two, that it will be built according to the site plan that is attached with this application. All in favor of this motion, please raise your right hand. All opposed, do the same. Let it be known that it passed 5-0. Thank you very much and good luck. At this time, we'd like to present V11-002. Address 2845 Bethany Bend, to allow encroachment into the 50-foot stream buffer. Angela, if you will please present.
Petition number B11-002. Background. The site is located at the southeast corner of the Bethany Bend and Hogburn Road intersection. The 64.48-acre tract is currently zoned CUP, Community Unit Plan, per 05Z115. Although Chatham Homes started construction of a residential development, the project was abandoned and the Fulton County Board of Education purchased the property in 2008. An intermittent stream currently runs southwesternly from the northeast property corner to an existing detention pond located in the south central quadrant of the property, shown as Stream 1 on the site plan. In addition, two smaller intermittent streams flow into Stream 1 from the eastern side of the property, Streams 2 and 3. Another small branch, Stream 4, flows directly into the detention pond. The proposed site plan is the end result of several redesigns. The applicant's attempt to place all of the required buildings and amenities required by Fulton County's educational specifications for high schools while minimizing the impact to the buffers. Per the list of variance considerations, staff has received an alternative plan from the applicant. This plan, dated received January 4th, 2010, shows the 234 by 360-foot practice field oriented in the east-west direction. This layout was presented to the BZA in February of 2010. The BOE has already received a variance for the encroachment into the 25-foot state buffer from the State of Georgia Environmental Protection Division. Also, per the considerations, the applicant is required to provide mitigation for the approximately 0.02 acres of city buffer encroachments. The submitted site plan indicates the use of pervious materials for the footpath connecting the pedestrian bridge over Stream 1 to the practice field. The applicant indicated that the stormwater runoff from the campus would be controlled through the storm drainage structures terminating into one of 4 quality water ponds, which would then drain into the existing detention pond. Considerations for stream buffer variance also include the long-term and construction water quality impacts of the proposed variance and whether issuance of the variance is at least as protective of the natural resources and the environment. The applicant states that due to the small amount of encroachment, water quality impact will be little, if any. The applicant also states that the designer has worked hard to minimize the impact to the buffer while still fitting in all of the buildings and facilities that the high school needs. This petition was not presented to the design review board. The applicant chose not to take it back to the design review board. Additional department comment. Staff held a focus meeting on February 2nd, 2011, at which the following comments were provided. Building plan review and DOT had no issues. Site plan review. Number one, prior to permitting, the applicant must demonstrate that the impact has been mitigated. If a variance is granted, the applicant must provide additional erosion and sediment measures that impact areas and keep the duration of exposure to a minimum. 3, prior to permitting, the applicant must adjust impact areas on plan to include all disturbances and provide a barrier, such as a temporary chain link fence, to entry into the protected areas. From the arborist, what appears to be an insignificant intermittent stream has been observed to have little but continuous flow. There is no spring head located, rather an area of ground seepage as the origin. Again, there is little flow with no well-developed stream banks. Water does not have continuous flow towards larger stream as it goes subsurface. Most of the central to east central area of the sports field, as shown, has much more level terrain than the central west central, as well as fewer trees proposed for removal. The field located with this orientation would impact the northern intermittent stream, requiring piping of this area, and could possibly enhance the stream. Fewer trees would be removed, trees which are lone groups in areas with much scrub. Less grading would be required, as well as less retaining wall in both height and length. Much of the area in this plan is open field. Tree-safe areas shall be maintained as shown on the submitted site plan. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. All retaining walls should be faced with or constructed of stone, brick, or decorative concrete modular block. If any retaining walls equal or exceed 3 feet in height, a continuous evergreen planting shall be required adjacent to it. Tree-safe areas around the practice field shall not be disturbed. This concludes the staff presentation.
Any questions to staff from the board? At this time, we'd like to ask the applicant to please come forward and present. And if you would state your name and address, we'd certainly appreciate it.
My name is Bob Susanbach, and my office is at 2500 Cumberland Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia. Do you want residents or business?
Business is fine.
We are here representing Fulton County Schools, and I'm the architect for the Bethany Glen High School project. I also have in support our civil engineer, and if he's needed, he can come forward as well. We were here about a year ago presenting the same concept, the practice field running in a north-south orientation. At the time, it was determined that we needed state approval to encroach into the 25-foot buffer. The timing for that would put us beyond our building start date. So essentially what we had to do is come up with a way to get the school permitted and allow the school to open in time. So an east-west orientation is presented to you. That east-west orientation is not the preferred orientation for the field. The north-south is, because it allows use of the field when the sun is, if you've been on a practice field, any kind of a field, an east-west orientation will put the sun in your eyes. Whether it's in the morning, it's in one direction, in the evening, it's in the other. North-south is the ideal location. That way the school system doesn't have to have as many fields. It takes up less land for that. The other reason that we felt the north-south orientation was better is it did affect the removal of far fewer trees. We were trying to save as many trees in the stream buffer area as possible and adjacent to it, and the north-south orientation did just that. It also reduced the height of retaining walls, and we think it just gives the campus a much better appeal. And that's why we're back before you today to see if we can get that approved.
Any questions from the board to the applicant?
I have a few.
Yes, sir.
Is the practice field going to be natural turf or artificial?
It would be natural turf.
Okay. Will there be any border fencing around this practice area?
Yes.
And what would that be constructed of?
It's chain link fencing, vinyl coated, black.
I couldn't tell from the plans that were submitted where there would actually be retaining walls.
It's on the west side of the practice field, just as you're heading towards the stream.
Mm-hmm.
To limit the encroachment, we stopped it at a certain point and put it on a retaining wall. If we put in a bank, we would have gone deeper into the stream buffer.
Okay, I'm not following you. I see where you are in the plan here. So you're saying the retaining wall stops at the actual existing stream and then picks back up?
No, I'm sorry, the retaining wall is about 10, 15 feet west of the west side of the practice field. It runs parallel to the west side of the practice field.
So it does cross the existing stream?
Yes, it does.
It does, okay.
I'm sorry.
And that's, I think, what I see here.
This is going to be up in the air now, so they'll have to follow along. In fact, I think that.
Okay, and my last question is, will this field be lit?
No,
No lighting?
no lighting.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. I'm just more curious, I think, than anything on, I understand, obviously, that if you're going to cover over that stream and make a practice field out of it, you have to pipe that portion of the stream. Will the pipe come out at the north end of the field someplace and go under the field and then come out where the existing stream is? How do you end up piping
Well,
that?
it's really, if you've been there and you tried to explain in the letter, there really is, there's nothing there.
There's nothing to pipe.
There's really
We
nothing.
are putting in, we're putting a spring box and we'll pipe discharge out of the bottom of the wall. But it's basically, there's no off-site flow flowing to it.
Nothing
He needs to come up to the
coming
mic.
Groundwater coming out.
I see, so that'll all be under the field, is that?
Right.
I see.
Can you restate that so it's on the record?
Can you come up and state your name and address, and just for the record, and then restate what you just said? Thank you.
I'm Matt Tanner with Breedlove Land Planning, 510 McDaniel Mill, Conyers, McDaniel Mill Road, Conyers, Georgia. And what I was saying was that we're putting in basically a dewatering spring box and a ductile iron pipe that will discharge at the base of the wall into the stream. There's not off-site flow like you traditionally would think of with a stream. I mean, this is the beginning of a stream, and as the staff stated, the water bubbles up for just a second and goes back underground. If you went out there today, you wouldn't think we're piping a stream, but technically it meets the stream buffer definition.
Is that box the little square that I see on the drawing? It's on the west,
Exactly.
on the west edge? I see, okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have, well, maybe this is more for staff, but while the applicant's here so they can respond as well.
Sure.
It looks like the practice field is actually in the 25-foot yard setback. Is that your observation, and is that even an issue?
It is. They have the state variance for the state 25-foot, and then.
I'm talking the side yard setback,
Oh, the side yard setback? Well, it's not a structure.
Yeah, that's all.
so it doesn't apply.
There.
Okay. That's all
Sorry,
right.
I thought you said proper.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Could you describe any retaining walls that are going to be included as part of this construction?
Yeah, well, first of all, they're the same type, there's retaining walls in the other orientation as well. They're modular block, mechanically stabilized walls, and we have the same type of this one, just less retaining wall required in this orientation.
Is one of the recommended conditions from staff that we would consider were we to approve this application is the aesthetics of the wall itself, and I hear you say modular block. Is that intended to match any other surfaces on the site?
It'll be the same block, and we've got a lot of other areas.
It's all over the place? Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? I assume there's nobody here for public comment. Is there anything else you'd all would like to say in closing? Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions to staff regarding this application from the board?
I know that's the first thing I thought.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to close public hearing, and the floor is open for a motion, since I can't make one. Mr. Kilgore, are you ready to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a
Okay.
motion. I move to approve petition V11-002 to allow encroachment into the 50-foot stream buffer with the following conditions. All retaining walls shall be faced with or constructed of stone, brick, or decorative concrete modular block. If any retaining wall equals or exceeds 3 feet in height, a continuous evergreen planting shall be required adjacent to it, and all tree save areas around the practice field shall not be disturbed.
Can you state your reason for approval?
Yes. From what I saw in Mr. Sanders' comments, he will require mitigation, and I'm assuming that he will see to it that the stream is either enhanced or maintained as it currently is. And I'm mainly concerned with the tree save and the fact that this orientation will save the trees and will save quite a bit more trees, and of course is the desired orientation which the board is seeking.
Second.
Second.
I would recommend a friendly amendment.
I didn't have to be
I was going to
friendly.
mention just the,
Don't do that.
and I think it gets at the heart of what you were saying in that postscript, and that's the site plan review comments and the arborist. There were 4 things identified, one of which is echoed in something you already mentioned, but,
Move to amend.
okay, I would move to amend and add the following stipulations. Prior to permitting, the applicant must demonstrate that impact has been mitigated. The applicant must provide additional erosion and sediment measures at impact areas and keep the duration of exposure to a minimum. And prior to permitting, the applicant must adjust impact areas on the plan to include all disturbances and provide a barrier such as a temporary chain link fence to entry into the protected areas. And then the arborist had an additional comment, but I think you covered that one.
Second.
Discussion on the friendly amendment. Okay. So we're going to vote first on the friendly amendment to add the 3 comments by Jimmy Sanders, the site plan review. Do I have to repeat those again, or can I just number them as 1, 2, and 3?
As shown on the staff.
As shown on the staff report. All in favor, raise your right hand. Let it be known that the friendly amendment passed 5-0. And now we have a motion to approve V11-002 to allow encroachment into the 50-foot stream buffer with the following conditions: to allow all retaining walls should be faced with or constructed of stone, brick, or decorative concrete modular block. If any retaining wall equals or exceeds 3 feet in height, a continuous evergreen planting shall be required adjacent to it, and that the tree save areas around the practice field should not be disturbed. And we will include the 3 comments listed on the site plan review by Jimmy Sanders. Any discussion on this? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. That'll be known to pass 5-0. Thank you very much.
And that's the thing that bothered me.
Other business?
Flowed the water and everything.
Do you want to comment about the election of officers,
They
since
have a heavy
Jim and
storm.
Walt aren't here, then.
Yeah, it was originally on the agenda, but since we're missing two members, I thought we better
Any-
Probably way faster.
Any other, any other business?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Thank you very
I want to
much.
discuss the adjournment.